In this video, you'll learn 5 essential stages behind a Tibetan breathing ritual that monks have used for thousands of years to clear mental fog in about 7 minutes. The third stage is the breathing ritual itself, the exact cycle monks use when clarity is non-negotiable. But without understanding the first 2 stages, the breath won't work the way it's meant to. And the 4th stage explains why this ritual feels like opening a window inside your head, even though nothing external changes. This isn't meditation, and it's not about forcing focus. Monks don't wait for clarity to appear. They train the conditions that make clarity inevitable. For them, a foggy mind isn't just uncomfortable, it's unacceptable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why brain fog appears in the first place, why monks treat mental clarity as a responsibility, how the 7-minute clear sky breath works step by step, what happens in your brain while you do it, and how to turn this ritual into a daily reset for focus and decision-making. And stay until the end, because using this breath at the wrong moment can make you more fatigued, while using it correctly can leave your mind noticeably sharper for hours. Let's start with what it actually feels like to live in a permanent mental fog and why monks refuse to tolerate it. Mental fog doesn't announce itself clearly. It creeps in slowly, until one day you realize your thoughts feel heavier than they used to. You read the same sentence twice. You forget why you walked into a room. You struggle to hold a clear idea in your mind for more than a few seconds. Nothing feels sharp. Everything feels slightly muted. For many people, this becomes a background state. You wake up already unfocused. Coffee helps a little, then fades. The day moves forward, but your attention never fully arrives. Tasks take longer. Decisions feel draining. By evening, your head feels full, yet strangely empty at the same time. Most assume this fog is inevitable. Age, stress, screens, poor sleep. It's easy to accept it as a side effect of modern life, but Tibetan monks see it very differently. For them, mental fog is not a condition, it's a signal, and ignoring it has consequences. In long retreats, monks cannot afford a cloudy mind. Days are structured around memorization, chanting, study, and precise ritual work. Attention is not optional. If the mind drifts, the practice collapses. If clarity fades, mistakes multiply. Over time, a foggy mind becomes disrespectful, not only to the practice, but to the teacher and the lineage itself. Monks are trained to notice the earliest signs of mental dullness, a slight heaviness behind the eyes, a wandering gaze, a feeling of internal friction when trying to focus. These are not treated casually. They are addressed immediately, not with stimulation, but with regulation. What monks understand, and most people don't, is that brain fog is rarely about lack of intelligence or effort. It's about circulation, breathing patterns, and nervous system tone. When breathing becomes shallow or irregular, oxygen delivery fluctuates. When carbon dioxide drops too low, blood vessels constrict. The brain receives less steady flow, and clarity fades. Add chronic stress, poor posture, and constant mental switching, and the fog becomes persistent. The mind tries harder, but effort only tightens the system further. Focus becomes forced. Fatigue deepens. This is why pushing through brain fog rarely works. You can force attention for short periods, but the cost is high. The nervous system stays strained. Recovery takes longer. Over time, the fog returns faster and lasts longer. Monks refuse this cycle. They don't push through fog. They clear it, and they do it before it becomes severe. They see clarity as a state that must be maintained, not chased. This doesn't mean monks are never tired. It means they are trained to recognize when the mind is losing its openness. When that happens, they don't reach for stimulation or distraction. They reset the system. That reset begins with understanding why clarity matters so deeply in monastic life and why it is treated not as a luxury but as a duty. Because once you understand how monks value clarity, their breathing rituals stop looking optional and start looking necessary. In Tibetan monasteries, clarity is not considered a personal preference. It is considered a responsibility. A monk with a foggy mind is not just struggling internally, he is failing in his role. This may sound severe, but it reveals how seriously clarity is taken in monastic life. Monks are trained to understand that the mind is an instrument. Just as a blade must be kept sharp to cut cleanly, the mind must be kept clear to perceive accurately. When the instrument dulls, the work suffers. Rituals lose precision, study becomes mechanical, chanting loses rhythm, attention drifts, and with it, respect for the practice. This is why monks do not wait for clarity to return on its own. They don't blame fatigue or age, they intervene. A cloudy mind is treated as a state that must be corrected immediately, not endured. Clarity is also tied to ethics. In monastic training, showing up unfocused is seen as a form of carelessness. When you study sacred texts, listen to a teacher, or participate in ritual, presence is expected. To be mentally absent is to waste the effort of everyone involved. This creates a powerful internal standard. Clarity is not about feeling good, it's about honoring the moment. Because of this, monks develop daily habits specifically designed to prevent mental fog. Their day is structured to protect attention. Long periods of sitting are balanced with walking. Silence alternates with chanting. Posture is constantly corrected. Breathing is observed throughout the day, not just during formal practice. One of the most important principles monks learn is that clarity depends on circulation. Not just blood circulation, but energetic and respiratory flow. When the body stagnates, the mind follows. When breathing becomes shallow, attention collapses inward. Fog appears. Rather than stimulating the mind, monks open it. They use practices that increase internal space instead of narrowing focus. This is why their methods often feel counterintuitive to modern people. Instead of forcing concentration, they widen awareness. Instead of energizing aggressively, they balance the system. Another key idea is timing. Monks do not wait until the mind is completely fogged. They act at the first sign of dullness. A brief reset early can prevent hours of struggle later. This makes their practices efficient, not mystical. Over years of training, monks become highly sensitive to subtle changes in mental clarity. They can tell within minutes when attention is slipping. This sensitivity allows them to respond quickly, before fatigue or frustration set in. This approach contrasts sharply with modern habits. Most people notice brain fog only when productivity collapses. By then, the system is already strained. Recovery takes longer, the fog feels heavier. Monks avoid this by treating clarity as maintenance, not repair. Just as you don't wait for an engine to fail before adding oil, they don't wait for the mind to shut down before resetting it. This mindset sets the stage for the breathing ritual itself. The ritual is not used casually, it is deployed deliberately, when clarity must be restored quickly and reliably. And this is where the clear sky breath comes in. A method designed not to energize or relax, but to remove the conditions that create mental fog in the first place. To understand how it works, you need to see how monks use breath not as a tool for calm, but as a way to reopen mental space. When monks speak about a clear mind, they rarely talk about focus in the modern sense. They use an older metaphor, the sky. Thoughts are clouds, sensations are weather. Clarity is not the absence of clouds, it is remembering that the sky itself is vast, stable, and untouched. The purpose of the clear sky breath is not to chase thoughts away, but to change the internal conditions that allow fog to form in the first place. This ritual is used when the mind feels heavy, slow, or crowded, not when the body is exhausted to the point of collapse, and not when emotions are overwhelming. It is a precision tool, designed to restore alert calm. Monks often use it before long study sessions, complex debates, memorization, or rituals that demand sustained attention. The setup is simple, but exact. The monk either sits upright or stands. The spine is vertical but relaxed. The crown of the head feels gently lifted while the weight of the body drops downward. The chest is open without tension. The shoulders fall naturally, the jaw is loose. This posture is not about discipline, it is about allowing circulation. When posture collapses, the breath collapses. When the breath collapses, clarity fades. The eyes remain open. This is critical. Closing the eyes can increase fog for many people by reducing sensory input too much. Instead, the gaze is soft and slightly lowered, resting on a neutral point ahead. The eyes do not fixate, they receive rather than search. This visual softness signals to the brain that vigilance is unnecessary. The breath begins through the nose, slow and quiet. The first minute is about settling the rhythm. The inhale lasts about 4 seconds, expanding the lower abdomen first, then the ribs, then gently the upper chest. There is no force. At the top of the inhale, there is a short pause, just long enough to notice stillness. 1 second is enough. The exhale is longer than the inhale, lasting 6 to 8 seconds. It flows downward, as if the breath is emptying weight from the head and chest into the lower body. This extended exhale is the first key to clearing fog. It allows carbon dioxide levels to normalize, which improves blood flow to the brain and reduces the tight, constricted feeling many associate with mental fatigue. During the second minute, attention shifts slightly. Instead of following the breath mechanically, the monk brings awareness to the space inside the head. Not the thoughts themselves, but the sense of pressure or heaviness. The breath is imagined as creating space, not pushing anything out. Fog is not expelled, it thins naturally when circulation improves. By the third minute, most people notice a subtle change. The breath feels smoother. The eyes feel less strained. The sensation behind the forehead begins to soften. This is often the point where impatience arises. Monks are taught to ignore it. Impatience is a sign that clarity is close, but the system is not fully reset yet. The 4th and 5th minutes deepen the effect. The inhale remains steady. The pause remains gentle. The exhale stays long and unforced. Attention alternates between the breath and the sense of openness in the head and chest. Thoughts may still appear, but they feel less sticky. They pass without pulling attention with them. This is where the clear sky metaphor becomes experiential. The mind feels wider. Sound seems sharper but less intrusive. Vision feels brighter without being overstimulating. Many describe it as if a window has been opened internally. Nothing dramatic happens, but everything feels more available. The 6th minute is about stabilization. The monk maintains the same rhythm without trying to improve it. This is important. Trying to enhance the sensation reintroduces effort, which can recreate tension. The breath does the work, the body follows. The 7th minute completes the cycle. At this point, clarity is usually noticeable, not as excitement, but as readiness. The mind feels awake without being agitated. Focus is easier, but not narrow. Decisions feel lighter. Memory retrieval improves. There are important safety notes monks emphasize. If dizziness appears, the inhale is shortened and the pause reduced. If fatigue increases instead of clarity, the exhale may be too long or forced. The ritual is adjusted, not abandoned. Monks treat these signals as feedback, not failure. This breath is not meant to replace sleep or nutrition. It is not a stimulant. It is a reset. Used correctly, it clears fog by restoring balance, oxygen delivery, CO2 tolerance, and nervous system tone working together. What makes this ritual powerful is not mysticism, but timing and precision. 7 minutes is long enough to change internal conditions, but short enough to be practical. And because it works with the body instead of against it, the effects often last for hours. But the breath alone does not explain everything. There are measurable changes happening in the brain during this ritual that help explain why clarity returns so reliably. To understand that, we need to look at what is actually happening inside your head while the sky clears. When monks describe the mind clearing, they are not speaking metaphorically. During the clear sky breath, measurable physiological changes occur that directly affect how the brain functions. These changes explain why fog lifts without stimulation and why clarity feels stable rather than jittery. One of the first processes affected is cerebral blood flow. Shallow or irregular breathing, common during stress or fatigue, disrupts the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. While oxygen is essential, carbon dioxide plays a crucial role in regulating blood vessel dilation. When CO2 levels drop too low, blood vessels constrict, reducing steady flow to the brain. This constriction is a major contributor to brain fog. The long, slow exhale used in the ritual allows CO2 levels to normalize. As this happens, cerebral blood vessels dilate slightly, improving consistent blood flow. The brain receives a more stable supply of oxygen and nutrients. This alone can reduce the heavy, pressurized feeling many associate with mental fatigue. Another key change occurs in the brain's alertness systems. Brain fog is often linked to a state of under-arousal combined with stress. The mind feels dull, but the nervous system remains tense. This mismatch creates the sensation of mental friction. The clear sky breath resolves this by calming the stress response while maintaining alertness. Slow nasal breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress hormones like cortisol. At the same time, the upright posture and open gaze maintain sensory engagement. The result is a balanced state, calm but awake. This is why clarity emerges without sleepiness. The ritual also influences brainwave activity. While monks did not describe this in modern terms, research suggests that slow breathing can increase alpha wave activity, associated with relaxed alertness, while reducing excessive beta activity linked to mental noise and overthinking. This shift creates an internal environment where thoughts become organized instead of scattered. Attention networks in the brain are also affected. During brain fog, attention jumps unpredictably. The mind struggles to sustain focus or shift it intentionally. The combination of steady breathing, soft gaze, and posture stabilizes these networks. The brain stops reacting to every minor stimulus. Attention becomes available again. Carbon dioxide tolerance plays another important role. Many people unknowingly overbreathe during stress, even when breathing feels shallow. This disrupts internal chemistry and contributes to dizziness, fatigue, and fog. The gentle pauses in the ritual retrain the body to tolerate normal CO2 levels, improving respiratory efficiency. Over time, this leads to clearer thinking even outside the ritual. Monks also observe changes in sensory processing. Sounds become clearer but less distracting. Vision sharpens without tension. This indicates improved sensory gating, the brain's ability to filter irrelevant input. When this system is overwhelmed, mental fog increases. The ritual restores balance, allowing the brain to prioritize information effectively. It's important to note what this ritual does not do. It does not flood the brain with stimulation. It does not rely on adrenaline or caffeine. It does not force focus. These approaches often worsen fog in the long run by exhausting the nervous system. The clear sky breath works by reducing internal interference, not adding energy. Researchers studying similar breathing patterns have noted improvements in working memory, reaction time, and sustained attention after just a few minutes of practice. While monks did not measure these outcomes with instruments, their training reflects the same principles: clear input, balanced chemistry, stable attention. The feeling of opening a window in the head is not imaginary. It reflects a real shift from constricted, stressed processing to open, regulated function. The brain becomes more efficient. Less effort is required to think clearly. Mental tasks feel lighter. This is why monks rely on this ritual instead of forcing themselves through fog. They understand that clarity is not produced by effort, but by conditions. Change the conditions and clarity follows naturally. However, clarity that appears once is not enough. Without integration, fog returns. Monks do not treat this ritual as a special solution reserved for rare moments. They turn it into a habit, a reset button used deliberately throughout the day. That final step is what transforms a technique into a reliable practice. And that is what we look at next: how to use this breath as a daily reset, without disrupting energy or focus. For monks, a ritual is only valuable if it can be integrated into daily life. A practice that works only in perfect conditions is considered incomplete. The clear sky breath is not treated as a special exercise reserved for retreats or quiet rooms. It is used as a reset, something that restores clarity before it is lost completely. Monks apply this ritual strategically. They do not wait until the mind is exhausted or overwhelmed. They use it at transition points throughout the day. Before study begins, after long periods of sitting, before debate or memorization. These moments matter because they determine how the next block of attention will unfold. A foggy start almost always leads to a foggy outcome. In practical terms, this means using the 7-minute breath before tasks that demand mental precision, before reading dense material, before writing, before making decisions that require judgment. Monks understand that clarity compounds. A clear mind at the beginning reduces mistakes, fatigue, and frustration later. For people outside monastic life, the same principle applies. The ritual works best when used proactively, not reactively. Waiting until brain fog becomes severe makes the reset slower. Using it early keeps the system balanced. This is why monks recommend practicing it even on days when the mind feels fine. The goal is maintenance, not repair. One effective approach is to link the ritual to a consistent cue: morning before work begins, midday after mental effort, evening before reflection or planning. This creates rhythm. The nervous system learns when clarity is expected, and it begins to respond more quickly over time. Monks also encourage observing changes rather than chasing results. After using the breath daily for a few weeks, subtle shifts appear. Concentration lasts longer, mental fatigue arrives later, memory retrieval feels smoother, decision-making requires less effort. These changes are often gradual, which is why many people miss them unless they pay attention. Some monks keep simple internal markers. How long can I study before attention fades? How easily do I recall what I read? How heavy does my head feel by evening? These observations replace the need for external tracking. The body gives feedback if you listen. It's important not to turn the ritual into a stimulant. Using it repeatedly to push through exhaustion defeats its purpose. Monks distinguish clearly between fog and fatigue. Fog can be cleared. Fatigue must be respected. If the breath increases tiredness instead of clarity, it is a sign that rest, not regulation, is needed. Another key principle is neutrality. Monks do not label days as good or bad based on clarity. They simply respond to conditions. Some days require more resets, some require fewer. This flexibility prevents frustration and keeps the practice sustainable. Over time, the clear sky breath becomes less about the ritual itself and more about the state it trains. The nervous system learns to remain open and balanced. The mind recovers faster from distraction. Fog becomes less frequent and less intense. Monks describe this as living under a clear sky. Clouds still pass, weather still changes, but the underlying openness remains accessible. Clarity is no longer something you chase, It's something you return to. This is the deeper value of the practice. Not sharper focus for a moment, but a different relationship with mental states. Fog stops feeling permanent. Confusion stops feeling personal. The mind becomes something you can care for rather than struggle with. In a world that constantly fragments attention, this approach is quietly radical. No force, no stimulation, just restoring the conditions that allow clarity to arise on its own. The monks never believed clarity was rare. They believed it was natural. When the system is allowed to function as it was designed to, and with the right training, that clarity is never far away. The sky does not disappear when clouds arrive. It waits until the conditions change.